Hey there, and happy Thursday. It's a beautiful afternoon here in North Carolina, a little cold, but sunny. Today's the day that we talk marriage, and today I'm talking about a rather interesting topic. I don't know if you've heard about what Jada Pinkett Smith said on her show, but she was commenting that since she's been in quarantine with her husband, Will Smith, she's realizing that she doesn't really know him. And they've been together for over 20 years. And I'm wondering if maybe you're thinking the same thing. Maybe you're looking across the kitchen table or next to you in bed and wondering just who is this person? Because you've probably been thinking you know who this person is. And this is why I talked about letting go of your imaginary spouse. It's not that your spouse isn't a real flesh and blood human being, but more that you have maybe not an accurate idea of who your partner is. And one of the things that a lot of people talk about is this thing called unconditional love. And I am not at all sure that unconditional love exists. If it does, I think it mostly is from parent to child. But basically, my interpretation of unconditional love means that you are accepting of the entire person that is standing before you, not the one that you have imagined in your head or not the one that you want your partner to be, but the person who's actually standing there in all their strengths and all their challenges. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't want them to maybe alter a behavior. And by the way, altering a behavior, making a request for a change of behavior is a perfectly fine thing to ask of your partner. You can't change who they are, but you can ask for differences in behavior. And ideally, when we provide unconditional love, when we accept the whole person who's standing in front of us, that's generally when we're going to be able to get some change of behavior going because they feel loved, they feel supported, they feel accepted. But in listening in reading Jada's post or actually reading about Jada's comment on her TV show, um, it brought to mind like all these old adages. The idea that women marry guys hoping that they'll change and men marry women hoping that they won't. And so, of course, that sets you up for a big disappointment because everybody changes over time. How you change makes a difference. The other one that comes to mind is what happens when you assume, you basically make an ass out of you and me. And that's what a lot of you guys are doing. You are making assumptions about your partner. You're telling yourself stories about your partner, about what they're thinking, about what they're feeling, about why they're doing what they're doing. And you basically, and I guarantee you, if you look for behavior to support your story, you will find it. The question is that story true? And it may be true some of the time, but is it true all of the time? And you are going to act on the stories that you're telling yourself. You are going to act on what you think is going on inside of your partner instead of asking them or giving them the benefit of the doubt or something positive. And so you will keep doing this over the years until you're like Jada Pinkett Smith and wondering, who is this person? And unfortunately, in today's, well, actually not today's, but probably 6 months ago, when we were all running around so busy doing all our things, we wouldn't necessarily stop and take the time to look at this person that we're living with, to look at this person that we promised to love for the rest of time and wonder, who are you? We would just act on our assumptions. And that's really dangerous because, yes, what you're seeing, there's some evidence for, but you're putting an interpretation on it. And unfortunately, a lot of times the interpretation you're putting on it is not a very positive one. Now, that's not to say that there are not some really bad spouses out there. There are, but that's not most people. Most people are just doing the best they can, you included, and we're functioning off of these stories that we tell ourselves. We create this image of our partner, either of the way we think they should be, and then hold them accountable for falling short when they have no idea that's what we're even thinking. Or on the other hand, this idea that somehow they aren't who they are. And this is, this creates so much problems in marriages because you guys don't talk about it. You act on the assumption, you act on the expectation, and then things go haywire. So instead of imagining who your partner is, figure out who your partner is. They are in some ways the same person that you married, and in some ways they're not. Because as I said before, none of us stay the same. And if we don't actually interact with our partners and find out what they're thinking and feeling, then we are going to attribute things to them that aren't real. And this is where the problem comes in. One of the things that I think could be a blessing in disguise about this shelter in place, this stay-at-home order, is it gives you the opportunity to actually learn who your partner is today, right now. And it also gives you the opportunity to share with them who you are, because by the way, they're holding stories about you as well. Now, I know you're going to tell me this. It's a scary thing to do. Yes, it is. But it's worthwhile because you could be wrong. You could be saying some things about your partner that just aren't true, that you're finding hurtful. And one of the things that I tell my clients all the time is please do not speak for your partner. Do not tell your partner what they're thinking, feeling, or what their motivation is. And when they tell you they're not doing something, or they're not thinking something, or they're not feeling something, believe them unless you have some other evidence to show that that's not accurate. But if they're saying that's not why they're doing something, then get curious and find out what's behind it. And if you have a question about it, please ask. Don't assume that they're lying to you. It's really critically important to really pay attention to who the person is that you're married to, who you're living with, what they're saying, what they're thinking, and do the same back. Let them know who you are. Because I guarantee over the years, when we have kids, when we're working, when we're running around, we lose touch with these people, and then we fill in the blanks with our own stories. So my challenge to you is to let this image of your partner go, this imaginary image of your partner, and get to know the flesh and blood person. Okay. And I forgot to tell you at the beginning that this is Lesli Dories, and I'm your marriage coach and the owner of Foundations Coaching and creator of the Hero Husband Project. And what I'd really love to know is, what stories are you making up about your partner? What are you imagining about your partner as opposed to what's real? That's step number one. And then step number two is, what would it mean if you let that story go? If you actually loved your partner unconditionally and allowed them to love you unconditionally. So put those down in the comments, because I'd love to talk to you about it. And until next week, stay loving.